The VFW hall smelled like burnt coffee and that industrial cleaner they use in church basements. December cold pressed against the windows. I sat at the head table, the one I'd built 30 years back, watching my grandson Tyler marry a sweet girl from the next county over. 3 generations under one roof. The heating was cranky, coughing warm air in fits, but I didn't mind. Then my wife stood up to give a toast. Linda looked like a picture in her silver dress, holding her wine glass just so. She smiled at the room, waited for quiet. After 43 years, she said, I've finally trained Frank to sit still and stay quiet. Pause for the laugh. She got it. He's about as useful as a screen door on a submarine these days. She patted my head, like a dog. The room laughed. My face burned. I tasted copper. I stood up, coat over my arm, and walked out into the snow. Let me back up. Tell it proper. It was 2 days before Christmas, Tyler's wedding. The boy, well, he's 23 now, not a boy anymore, was marrying Amber, a teacher's aide from over in Richland County. Good girl, kind eyes, the kind who remembers to ask how you're doing and actually waits for the answer. The VFW hall on Route 9 was the only place in town big enough for both families. I knew every board in that building. Hell, I'd replaced half of them back in '94 after the roof leak. The American flag hung in the corner, a little faded. Folding chairs squeaked when folks shifted. Someone's baby was fussing in the back. I sat next to Linda at the head table. She'd been quiet all morning, which should have told me something. 43 years married, you learn the difference between comfortable quiet and the other kind. This was the other kind. But I figured she was just nervous. Weddings make people strange. Tyler came over before the toast started. Kid was grinning so hard I thought his face might split. Gramps, thanks for coming. Means everything. Wouldn't miss it, son. You built this table, didn't you? Mom told me. Long time ago. Your dad was about 6 when I finished it. I ran my hand along the edge. White oak, joints still tight. Built the cradle you slept in, too. He squeezed my shoulder and moved on to greet someone else. Linda was watching me. Something in her eyes I couldn't read. She had on that perfume she saves for, special occasions. Something floral and expensive that my daughter Margaret bought her years back. Her hair was done up nice, silver and smooth. She looked elegant, distinguished. The kind of woman men my age are supposed to feel lucky to have. The toast started. Tyler's best man went first. Some story about a fishing trip that got a good laugh. Amber's maid of honor cried through hers, which set off half the women in the room. Normal wedding stuff. Then Linda stood. She didn't ask me if she was going to speak. Just stood, wine glass in hand, and the room went quiet like it does when someone commands attention. I want to say a few words about marriage, she began. Her voice was steady, practiced. Tyler, Amber, you're starting a wonderful journey together. It takes patience. Compromise. She paused, smiled at the crowd. After 43 years with Frank here, I've learned a lot about patience. A few people chuckled. I felt my shoulders tense. I've finally trained him to sit still and stay quiet, she said. The room laughed, louder now. Took 4 decades, but we got there. She looked down at me, still smiling. He's about as useful as a screen door on a submarine these days, but he's mine. She reached down and patted the top of my head, like I was a dog. The room erupted. Real laughter this time, not polite chuckles. I heard someone whisper, "Oh, Linda," in that delighted way people do when someone says something slightly shocking. My face went hot. That old familiar feeling, like when my daddy used to cut me down in front of the farm hands. Boys softer than boiled eggs, he'd say, and the men would laugh because what else could they do? You laugh when the boss makes a joke, even if the joke's got teeth. I sat there, hands on my lap. The table I'd built with my own hands felt like it was tilting. Linda sat down, pleased with herself. She took a sip of wine. Didn't look at me. I could feel people glancing my way, then looking away, quick. Pity looks. Or maybe they thought it was funny. Hard to tell. Tyler's face had gone red. His new wife touched his arm, whispered something. I stood up, slow. My back creaked. 71 years of carpentry work. Picked up my coat from the back of the chair. Didn't put it on, just folded it over my arm. Frank? Linda's voice. Sharp now. Where are you going? I didn't answer. Walked through the tables, past the folding chairs, past the faded flag. Someone tried to stop me, Tyler's bride's father maybe, but I shook my head, kept walking. The door to the parking lot stuck like it always did. I put my shoulder into it. Cold air hit my face, sharp and clean. Snow was falling, small flakes that disappeared on the asphalt, My truck was in the back row. I could hear music starting up inside. The DJ must have taken my exit as a cue to get the dancing going. I sat in the truck, turned the key, heater blew cold air, then started warming up. The windshield wipers beat a steady rhythm, clearing snow. I drove past my house. Couldn't trust myself to go inside yet. Kept driving. I ended up driving in circles for about an hour, past the elementary school where our kids went, past the diner where Linda and I used to have breakfast on Saturdays, back when we still did that, past the church with the white steeple, finally circled back home. Our house, the one I built with my father in 1978, sat dark. Linda's car was gone. Still at the reception, probably. Or the after party at Tyler's in-laws' place. Good. I unlocked the front door, hit the light switch. Everything looked normal, clean. Linda kept the house spotless, always had. Photos on the mantle, the couch we'd bought 10 years back, my recliner with the duct tape on the armrest. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, stood at the counter waiting for it to brew, listening to the furnace kick on. The house settled around me, that sound old houses make, like breathing. That's when I noticed the drawer, the junk drawer next to the refrigerator. We kept scissors in there, tape, takeout menus. It had a lock, but we'd never used it. The key had been lost for years. Now it was locked. I stared at it, pulled the handle, didn't budge. 43 years in this house. That drawer had never been locked. I went to the garage, got a screwdriver, came back and popped the lock. Took about 30 seconds. The drawer slid open. Inside, envelopes. The kind with plastic windows. Official looking. I pulled them out, started reading. First one, mortgage paperwork. Our house. Except my name wasn't on it, just Linda's. Dated 8 months back. Refinanced, it said. New loan against the equity. I read it twice, 3 times. We'd owned this house outright since 2003. Paid off the last payment on my 61st birthday. Linda made a cake. Second envelope. Property deed, filed with the county clerk. Linda Sullivan, sole owner. No mention of Frank Sullivan anywhere. My hands started shaking. Third envelope, bank statements. Our joint account, the one we'd had since 1982, had been drained. $47,000, transferred to an account I'd never seen before. Account holder, Linda Sullivan. Fourth envelope, letters from an attorney, some firm in the city, regarding property transfer and estate planning and competency evaluation. Competency evaluation. I sat down at the kitchen table. The coffee pot beeped. I didn't get up. There were more envelopes. I went through them all. Assessment papers for the house. $620,000, it said. Hotel receipts. Receipts for restaurants I'd never been to. A jewelry store receipt for a man's watch. $800. I'd never gotten a watch. At the bottom, a photo. Linda with a man I didn't know. Tan, gym fit. Younger than me by 20 years. Easy. They were standing outside our bank downtown. He had his arm around her waist. The back of the photo had a date stamp. July, 4 months ago. I took out my phone. Photographed every document, every receipt, every piece of paper in that drawer. My hands steadied up once I had a task. Carpentry teaches you that. When things go wrong, you measure twice, cut once, document everything, put the papers back, closed the drawer, went upstairs, packed a bag, some clothes, my medications, toothbrush, the photo album from the closet, the one with pictures of the kids when they were small, came back down, stared at the kitchen table, thought about leaving a note, wrote one, short, gone, don't look for me, left it there, went to the garage, loaded the bag in my truck, added some tools, hammer, level, the good saw, don't know why, just felt right, started the engine. Linda's car pulled into the driveway. Headlights swept across the garage wall. I backed out fast. She got out of her car, waved her hand. Frank, stop! I didn't stop. Drove north on Route 9. Snow was coming down heavier now. Roads were slick. Ray Hutchins, my neighbor, had a hunting cabin about 15 miles out. Old place, no running water, just a wood stove and a cot. Ray'd told me years ago, you ever need to get away, keys under the coffee can by the door. I found the cabin in the dark. Snow had drifted against the door. I kicked it clear, found the key, let myself in. Inside smelled like wood smoke and old wool, cold as a meat locker. I got the wood stove going, sat on the cot, stared at the flames through the stove grate. My phone buzzed. Linda calling. I turned it off. The fire popped. Wind rattled the windows. I thought about the mortgage papers. 8 months. She'd been planning this since spring. All that time, I'd been building her a garden box, planting her tomatoes, bringing her coffee every morning. I lay down on the cot, pulled the musty blanket over me, closed my eyes, didn't sleep 3 days. That's how long I stayed in Ray's cabin before another human being found me. First day, I just sat, fed the wood stove, drank instant coffee made with melted snow heated on the stove, stared at the knotty pine walls. Ray had a stack of hunting magazines from 2015. I read the same article about deer stands 4 times, didn't retain a word. My phone stayed off, couldn't bear to see the message. Second day, I tried to think practical, make a plan, but every time I started, I'd hit a wall. What was I going to do? Hire a lawyer? With what money? She had the accounts. Was I going to fight her? I was 71. She was painting me as incompetent. Maybe I was. My back ached from the cot, my hands shook from the cold. Or maybe something deeper. I kept seeing that phrase. Competency evaluation, like I was senile, like I couldn't be trusted with my own life. Maybe she was right. I'd let this happen. Sign things without reading them. Probably. Trusted her with the finances because that's what we'd agreed on back in '82. She was better with numbers. I was better with my hands. Except my hands didn't feel steady anymore. Third day, the snow stopped. Sun came out, pale and cold. I stood on the cabin porch, watching light on the white fields. I thought about the house. Built it with my father, summer of '78. I was 24, Dad was 56, same age I was when he died. We'd framed it together, just the two of us at first. Then some of his crew came to help with the roof. I remembered him teaching me to read a level. Bubble's got to sit right in the middle, boy. Otherwise, everything built on top of it's going to be crooked. Foundation matters. He wasn't a soft man, wasn't mean exactly, just hard. Grew up during the Depression, fought in Korea, didn't have patience for weakness. I remembered being 14, working his crew during summer. I dropped a hammer from the roof, almost hit a guy named Donnie. Dad grabbed me by the collar in front of everyone. Boy's softer than boiled eggs, can't trust him with simple work. I'd felt my face burn then too. Same copper taste. I learned to be quiet after that. Do the work, don't complain, don't make a fuss. Silence was strength. That's what I'd thought. But somewhere along the way, silence became invisibility. I sat back down on the cot. The cabin was cold, despite the fire. My breath made fog. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was how it ended. Old man alone in a cabin, too tired to fight, too proud to beg. I could just stay here. Let her have it all. The house, the money, the life. I'd survive. I had my tools. I could find work. Some handyman gigs, live small, disappear. I was thinking about that, really considering it, when I heard the truck. Engine sound on the gravel road. Getting closer. I didn't get up. Too tired, too defeated. If it was Linda, fine. If it was her lawyer, fine. If it was the sheriff with eviction papers, that'd be fine too. The engine stopped. Truck door slammed. Boots on frozen ground. Heavy knock on the door. I didn't move. Another knock. Frank, it's Ray. I know you're in there. Saw smoke from the chimney. Ray Hutchins, my neighbor for 30 years, Vietnam vet, widower, good man. Door's unlocked, I said. My voice came out rough. The door opened. Ray stepped in, stamping snow off his boots. He was 73, built like a fence post. Lean, weathered, permanent. He wore his old army jacket and carried a thermos. He looked at me on the cot, didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he pulled up the cabin's one chair, sat down, unscrewed the thermos, poured coffee into the cap, handed it to me. Black, he said. How you like it? I took it. The cup was warm. I wrapped my hands around it. Ray poured himself coffee in a tin cup from the shelf, sipped it, stared at the wood stove. We sat like that for maybe 5 minutes. No talking, just 2 old men drinking coffee in a cold cabin. Finally, Ray spoke. Saw Linda at the post office yesterday. She was with some guy, young fella, slick looking. I nodded. Found a picture. Figured. Ray drank more coffee. Also saw them at the bank last week. I was getting quarters for laundry. They were in the parking lot. Close. Real close. Another silence. I'm sorry, Frank. I shook my head. Nothing for you to be sorry about. Still. He set down his cup, reached into his jacket, pulled out a manila envelope. Got something you need to see? He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside, photographs, printed on regular paper, color, Linda and the slick guy, multiple photos, different days, outside the bank, outside our house, outside a hotel in the city. One photo showed the guy measuring something. I looked closer. He was measuring my workshop, the one behind the house, with a tape measure and a clipboard. My hands stopped shaking. Who is he, sir? I asked. Ray pulled out another paper, printed article from the internet. Kent Sawyer, real estate developer, specializes in senior property acquisitions. Ray said it like the words tasted bad. Found him after I started digging. He's got a pattern, Frank. I looked up at Ray. What kind of pattern? The kind where old folks lose their homes. Ray set the article on the cot beside me. I picked it up, read it slow. Kent Sawyer, 52, of Riverside Properties, LLC, specialized in assisting seniors with property transitions. The article was from a county newspaper 2 hours south. Lawsuit filed by the family of an elderly widower who'd signed over his farm. Turned out the signatures were forged, the man had dementia, and Kent had disappeared with $400,000 from the sale before anyone caught on. Case was still pending. There's more, Ray said. He pulled out his phone, one of those smartphones his daughter made him get, scrolled through photos, showed me the screen, more pictures of Kent, different elderly people, different properties. Ray had been doing research. Found him on 3 county records, Wowas, Ray said. Same game each time. Befriend a lonely senior, usually through the wife or a caretaker. Work his way in, get them to sign over property or take out new mortgages, then vanish before the paperwork catches up. How long you been watching him? Week and a half, since I saw him measuring your shop. Ray put the phone away. Didn't know what I was seeing at first. Just looked wrong, you know? Man poking around your property while you weren't home. So I started paying attention. Linda know you saw? Don't think so. I was in my garden shed. They didn't look around much. Too confident. I stared at the photos again. Linda's smile in one of them. Happy. Really happy. Hadn't seen her smile like that at me in years. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Ray was quiet for a moment. Honestly, wasn't sure it was my business. Man's marriage is his own. Figured maybe you knew, maybe you had some kind of arrangement. He shook his head. But then you didn't show up at the VFW for 3 days. Your truck was gone. House was dark. I started thinking maybe I should have said something sooner. How'd you find me here? Where else would you go? This cabin's the only place for 50 miles a man can disappear without questions. He stood up, poured more coffee. Learned that myself back in '08. I knew the story, but I let him tell it. Sometimes a man needs to tell it. Ray sat back down, stared at his coffee. Had my farm, 160 acres, been in my wife's family since 1890. Patricia died in '07, cancer. I was a mess after. Wasn't eating right, wasn't sleeping. Bank sent some consultant around. Nice young guy, said he could help me restructure the debt, make things easier. He paused, drank. I signed papers. Didn't read them real careful. Head wasn't right. Turned out I'd signed over the mineral rights, and a lease agreement that let them put up cell towers, and a whole bunch of other things. By the time I figured it out, they'd sold the rights to some company in Texas. I fought it, got a lawyer. Judge said the signatures were legal. I'd signed. My fault for not reading. Lost the farm. Most of it. Kept 5 acres in the house. Everything else went to foreclosure. Sold at auction. Developer bought it. Built those townhouses you see off Highway 14. Ray's jaw tightened. I drive past them sometimes. Can still see where Patricia's garden used to be. Now it's a parking lot. The wood stove popped. Neither of us spoke for a while. I didn't fight hard enough, Ray said finally. Was too ashamed. Too embarrassed I'd been fooled. Too tired from losing Patricia. I just let it happen. He looked at me directly. I won't let it happen to you. Ray, I appreciate. Frank, listen to me. He leaned forward. This Kent guy's a professional. He's done this before. He'll do it again unless someone stops him. And Linda. He paused, choosing words. I don't know if she knows what she's gotten into. Maybe she does. Maybe she's a willing partner. But either way, she's taking your house. The house you built. She's going to bulldoze your shop. I heard Kent talking on the phone about pool house plans. And she's going to do it by making you look incompetent. Maybe I am. Bullshit. Ray's voice went hard. You built half the homes in this county? You rebuilt my porch in 2012, and it's still the sturdiest thing on my property. You can read a tape measure, read a level, read a contract if you'd slow down and look at it. You're not incompetent. You're trusting. There's a difference. I wanted to believe him, but that phrase kept echoing. Competency evaluation. What am I supposed to do? I asked. She's got lawyers. She's got paperwork going back months. She's got bank accounts in her name. What have I got? Ray tapped the envelope of photos. You've got evidence. You've got proof she's planning this with a known con man. You've got forged signatures. I'm guessing you didn't sign those refinance papers? Never saw them until 2 days ago. There you go. And you've got me. I'll testify. I've got dates, times, photographs. He paused. And you've got something else. What? You've got people in this town who remember what you built. Judge Patricia Chin, you built her granddaughter's crib. Remember back in 2003? White oak with carved lambs. I did remember. The judge's daughter had come to me special. Wanted something handmade. Something that would last generations. Patricia Chin's been a judge for 15 years now, Ray said. Fair woman. Doesn't like con men. Doesn't like people who prey on seniors. He stood up. You've got a case, Frank. A real one. But only if you were willing to fight. I looked at the photos spread out on the cot. Linda and Kent. My workshop being measured for demolition. The article about the lawsuit. 43 years. I thought about the morning after we got married. Linda making eggs in our tiny apartment kitchen. Me heading out to a framing job. She'd kiss me goodbye, said build something good today. I'd built a lot since then. Houses, furniture, a life. When did it all turn crooked? I'm 71 years old, I said. So? My back hurts. My hands shake when it's cold. I get up 3 times a night to piss. I'm tired, Ray. I'm 73, Ray said. I got tinnitus from artillery fire. My knees are shot. I take 8 pills every morning just to feel half decent. And I'm telling you, tired or not, you don't roll over for this. I wouldn't know where to start. Ray sat back down. His voice softened. I do. I've been through it. I know the mistakes I made. I know what I should have done different. He looked at me. Let me help you. We'll do this right. I don't have money for lawyers. Hal Brennan owes me. Remember him? Used to have the practice on Main Street. Semi-retired now, but he takes cases for old friends. Works for trades. You could build him something or just promise him your famous apple pie at Thanksgiving. He's good people. I almost smiled at that. Almost. You really think there's a chance? Frank, I watched my farm get taken from me because I was too broken up to fight back. I was grieving Patricia, and I let that grief make me a victim. Ray's voice was steady, certain. You're not broken. You're hurt. There's a difference. Hurt can heal if you give it a chance. I picked up the photo of Kent measuring my workshop, the shop where I'd built the cradle Tyler slept in, where I'd built Margaret's first bookshelf, where I'd built the rocking chair Linda used to nurse both babies. She wanted to demolish it for a pool house. What would I have to do? I asked. First thing, come back with me, get cleaned up, eat something that isn't instant coffee. Then we call Hal. We show him everything, the documents you photographed, my surveillance photos, the articles about Kent. We build a case. We file motions. We fight. And if we lose? Ray shrugged. Then we lose. But at least you fought. At least you didn't just disappear. I thought about that. About disappearing. About being invisible in my own life. About my daddy saying I was soft. About Linda patting my head like a dog. About spending the rest of my days knowing I'd let them erase me without a word. Okay, I said. Ray's eyebrows went up. Yeah? Yeah. I stood up. My back complained, but I stood. Let's go. Ray nodded, started gathering the photos, putting them back in the envelope. We'll take my truck. Yours is low on gas. I checked. We'll come back for it later. I grabbed my bag, took one last look around the cabin, cold, dark, musty. I'd been ready to hide here, to let the world move on without me. Not anymore. We walked out into the December afternoon. Sun was low, snow crunched under our boots, Ray's truck was running, exhaust puffing white in the cold air. One thing, I said as we reached the truck. What's that? When this is over, however it ends, I'm going to build you something good. Ray opened the driver's door, paused. What are you thinking? New garden shed, proper one, cedar, good hardware, a place for you to keep Patricia's tools dry. Ray's eyes got shiny. He cleared his throat. She'd like that. I know she would. We got in the truck. Ray turned it around, headed back down the gravel road, toward town. I looked in the side mirror. The cabin disappeared behind the trees. I was 71 years old. My back hurt. My hands shook, but they were still my hands, and I wasn't done using them yet. Ray's house smelled like coffee and gun oil. He set me up in his spare room, the one that used to be his daughter's before she moved to Arizona, told me to shower, eat something, rest. I did shower, couldn't eat much, couldn't rest. I was sitting at Ray's kitchen table, staring at my phone, still turned off, when headlights swept across the front window. Ray looked up from the newspaper. Expecting someone? No. Car door slammed. Footsteps on the porch. Fast. Urgent knock. Ray went to the door, opened it. Is he here? A woman's voice. Familiar. Depends who's asking. I'm his daughter, Margaret. Is my father here? Ray looked back at me. I nodded. He opened the door wider. Margaret stood there, in a heavy winter coat, snow in her hair. She looked like she'd been driving hard. Her eyes were red, from crying or from the wind, I couldn't tell. She saw me. Her face did something complicated. Hi, Pop. I hadn't heard her call me that in 20 years. Margaret, I said. How did you... Tyler called me. Said you walked out of his wedding. Said nobody's seen you since. She stepped inside, stamping snow off her boots. Then I called the house. Mom answered. She told me you'd run off and she was handling it. That's when I knew something was wrong. Ray closed the door. I'll make more coffee. Margaret pulled out a chair, sat across from me. Up close, I could see the exhaustion. She'd driven from Chicago, 6 hours in good weather, had to be 8 or 9 in the snow. You drove through a blizzard, I said. Yeah, well, she unzipped her coat but didn't take it off. You're my father, even if we haven't talked much. That sat heavy between us. The estrangement, 20 years of it, starting the day I told her Jimmy wasn't good enough for her. Turned out I was wrong. Jimmy was fine. I was just stubborn. By the time I figured that out, the gap was too wide to cross easy. I'm sorry, I said. About Jimmy, about the wedding, about... She held up a hand. We can do that later. Right now, we need to talk about Mom. Ray brought coffee, set cups in front of both of us, stood by the counter, listening. Margaret pulled out a laptop from her bag, one of those thin silver ones, opened it, typed something. I did something I'm not proud of, she said, not looking at me. After Tyler called, after I talked to Mom, I had this feeling, so I drove to the house first. Mom wasn't there. Out with friends, the note said. I let myself in with my old key, went to her office. Margaret, I know her password, she said. It's your anniversary, March 15th. Been the same password for everything since 2005. She finally looked up at me. I logged into her email. Ray let out a low whistle. I know, Margaret said. It's illegal. Invasion of privacy. It won't hold up in court, probably. But Pop, you need to see this. She turned the laptop around, email after email. I leaned closer, started reading, from Linda Sullivan to Kent Sawyer, subject Timeline K. He still doesn't suspect anything. I dropped hints at dinner about getting older and memory issues. He just nodded along. The lawyer says we need 3 more months of documented behavior before we file for the competency hearing. I can do 3 months. It's been 43 years. What's 3 more months? My chest tightened. Margaret scrolled down, from Kent Sawyer to Linda Sullivan, subject property assessment baby. Got the assessment back, $620K as expected. Once the transfer is complete and we sell, that's $310K each after fees. Flight to Tampa leaves March 3rd. Can't wait to start our new life together. I read it again, then again. There's more, Margaret said quietly. She kept scrolling, email after email, planning, plotting, Linda asking Kent how to handle me, Kent coaching her on what to say, how to act, instructions on building a narrative of incompetence. One email made me stop cold. From Linda Sullivan to Kent Sawyer, subject the wedding. I'm going to do it at Tyler's wedding. Public setting, lots of witnesses. I'll make a joke about his memory, his usefulness, get people laughing, establish the narrative. You said I need to be bolder. This is me being bold. Kent's response, perfect. That's my girl. I sat back. The room tilted. Pop? Margaret's hand on my arm. She planned it, I said. The joke, the head pat, all of it. Yeah. Ray moved closer, looked at the screen, shook his head. Son of a bitch. Margaret kept scrolling. There's more. A lot more. I printed some of it. She pulled papers from her bag, handed them to me. I flipped through. Saw Kent's full operation laid out in emails to other people, other women, other marks. He had a partner, some woman named Denise. They worked as a team. Kent would target married women in their 60s, women who seemed unhappy or bored. Denise would find elderly widowers. They'd run the same con on both sides. How long? I asked. How long what? How long have you known? Margaret went very still. set down her coffee cup. What? You found all this too easy. You knew where to look. You knew something was wrong before Tyler even called. I looked at her. How long have you known about Kent? Her face flushed. For a second, she looked like she did at 16 when I caught her sneaking in past curfew. 4 months, she said finally. The kitchen went quiet, except for the refrigerator humming. 4 months? Pop, You knew my wife was cheating on me for 4 months and didn't tell me. I didn't know about the rest of it. Her voice cracked. A friend of mine, Sarah, remember her from high school? She saw Mom with some guy at a restaurant in the city. She took a photo, sent it to me, asked if I knew. I confronted Mom on the phone. She said it was a friend, said I was overreacting, said if I told you, she'd deny it and make sure we never spoke again. So you said nothing. I was going to tell you. Margaret's eyes filled. I was planning to come down after Christmas. I was going to sit you down, show you the photo, have a real conversation, but then Tyler called about the wedding, and I realized... She stopped, wiped her eyes. I realized I'd been a coward. I'd been protecting her instead of you, just like she knew I would. I didn't know what to say. When I got to the house and logged into her email, when I saw what she was really doing, Margaret's voice hardened. I spent the last 6 hours reading everything, taking screenshots, learning IT forensics from YouTube videos, building a case. She looked at me. You taught me never to let bullies win. Remember? When I was 12 and those boys on the bus wouldn't leave me alone? You told me you stand up, fight back, don't ever let them make you small. I remembered. Margaret had come home crying for a week straight, finally told me what was happening. I'd wanted to call the school, handle it myself. She'd begged me not to. What did you do? I'd asked her. Nothing yet. Why not? I don't know how. Yes, you do, I'd said. You're smart. You're tough. You're my daughter. Figure it out. Then do it. She'd figured it out, recorded the boys on a phone, took it to the principal herself. The boys got suspended. Now she was looking at me the same way, waiting for me to take my own advice. I stopped fighting a long time ago, I said. I know. I watched it happen. You got quieter every year, let Mom make all the decisions, stopped arguing, stopped taking up space. Margaret leaned forward. But Pop, that's not who you really are. You built things, you made things, you taught me to stand up, you can't have forgotten how. Ray cleared his throat. She's right, Frank. I looked at the emails again, at Linda's words, at Kent's coaching, at the calculated cruelty of planning that wedding joke, at the date, March 3rd, flight to Tampa. They were going to take everything and vanish. We can stop them, Margaret said. We have evidence. Ray has surveillance photos. You have the documents from the house. I have the emails. Illegally obtained, yes, but they show intent and pattern. We can build a case. Against my wife. Against people who are stealing from you. Her voice went fierce. Mom stopped being your wife when she decided you were a mark. Kent stopped being just her boyfriend when he started coaching her to humiliate you in public. They're criminals, Pop, and they're counting on you being too tired, too ashamed, too quiet to fight back. I thought about the cabin, about being ready to disappear, about the workshop they wanted to bulldoze, about 43 years that had somehow turned into this. We need a lawyer, Margaret said, a good one. Someone who knows elder law, fraud, property rights. Do you know anyone? I looked at Ray. He nodded. Hal Brennan, I said. Used to practice on Main Street. He's semi-retired, but... Call him, Margaret said. Now. She pulled out my phone from where I'd left it on the table, turned it on, handed it to me. The screen lit up, 47 missed calls, 32 text messages, most from Linda, a few from Tyler, one from Margaret before she'd started driving. I scrolled to Hal's number, had it saved from years back when he'd helped with our wills. The real ones. The ones Linda was now pretending didn't exist. My finger hovered over the call button. This was it, the moment. Once I made this call, there was no going back. It would be war. Linda would know I was fighting. Kent would know. It would get ugly. Public. The whole town would know our business. Pop? Margaret's voice. Softer now. You've got this. I thought about the head table at the VFW hall, the one I'd built 30 years ago. Still solid. Joints still tight. I'd built things to last. Maybe it was time to build one more thing, a way forward that didn't involve disappearing. I pressed the call button. The phone rang once, twice. Frank Sullivan, Hal Brennan's voice answered. I was wondering when you'd call. Hal Brennan showed up at Ray's house an hour later. He was 66, mostly bald, with reading glasses on a chain around his neck, wore a wool sweater that had seen better days, drove a Buick from the 90s. He shook my hand. Been a while, Frank. 10 years, maybe? About that. You built my granddaughter's playhouse, still standing strong. He sat at the kitchen table. Margaret spread out everything, printed emails, Ray's surveillance photos, copies of the documents I'd photographed from the locked drawer. Hal put on his reading glasses. Didn't say a word for 20 minutes. Just read, studied, made notes on a yellow legal pad. Finally, he looked up. This is bad, Frank. I know. No, I mean for them. This is very bad for them. He tapped the emails. This shows premeditation, conspiracy, fraud. The refinancing documents with forged signatures, that's felony territory. And Kent Sawyer. He pulled out his own phone, typed something, showed me the screen. 2 active lawsuits against him in 3 counties, 1 criminal investigation pending. Can we win? Margaret asked. In criminal court? Maybe. That's up to the prosecutor. In civil court? Hal nodded. Yeah, we can win. Question is, what do you want, Frank? I hadn't thought that far ahead. I want my house back. That's easy. The deed transfer was fraudulent. We void it, restore joint ownership. You file for divorce, house gets split or sold as part of the settlement. I want her out of the house. Hal made a note. Hal, emergency motion. Claims she poses a financial threat and has demonstrated intent to liquidate marital assets. Judge can order temporary vacate while proceedings continue. I want the bank accounts unfrozen, my name back on everything. Doable. We show the transfers were unauthorized, get a court order for restoration of funds. Margaret leaned forward. What about criminal charges? She tried to steal his house. She committed fraud. That's up to Frank, Hal said, and up to the prosecutor's office. I can refer this to them. But Frank, you need to understand, pressing criminal charges against your wife of 43 years, that's going to be hard on everyone. I thought about it. About Linda in handcuffs, in court, maybe in jail. Did I want that? Let's focus on getting the house back first, I said. The rest, we'll see. Hal nodded. Smart. One battle at a time. He looked at his notes. We file an emergency petition. Request a hearing ASAP. Judges take elder fraud seriously, especially this time of year. We'll need your testimony, Ray's testimony about the surveillance and the documentary evidence. He looked at Margaret. The emails are problematic. Illegally obtained. Judge might exclude them. But they show intent, Margaret protested. They do, and I'll try to get them admitted. But we need to be prepared in case they're thrown out, which means we build the case on what we absolutely have. Forged signatures, unauthorized transfers, Ray's eyewitness accounts. He turned back to me. Frank, I need you to be clear about something. Linda's going to fight this. Her lawyer, probably someone good if Kent's backing her, is going to paint you as bitter, vindictive, angry about the affair. They're going to say you're retaliating. They might even push the competency angle, say you're confused. I'm not confused. I know that, but we need to prove it, which means you stay calm. You don't contact Linda, you don't go to the house, you don't make threats or send angry texts. You be the reasonable one. Let her be the one who looks desperate and dishonest. I can do that. Good. Hal stood. I'll draft the petition tonight. We'll file first thing Monday morning. With any luck, we'll get a hearing by end of week. That fast? Emergency motions get priority, especially when there's risk of asset liquidation. He gathered his papers. One more thing. I work cheap for friends, but I don't work free. My rate is pie. I blinked. What? Your apple pie. The one you bring to the church social every year. I want one of those, delivery by Easter. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Deal. After Hal left, Margaret made dinner. Spaghetti. We ate at Ray's table. Me, Margaret, Ray, like a family. Pop, Margaret said, you say it. I'm staying, through all of this, however long it takes. You have work, your life in Chicago. I work remote. I can do it from anywhere. She twirled spaghetti on her fork. And my life in Chicago will still be there when this is done. Right now, you need me here. Ray stood, started clearing plates. Guest room's yours as long as you want it. Thanks, Mr. Hutchins. It's Ray. Anyone who drives through a blizzard for their old man gets first-name privileges. That night, I lay in Ray's spare bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, Hal would file the papers. Linda would be served. She'd know I was fighting back. Part of me felt guilty. 43 years, marriage vows, for better or worse. But another part, the part that had been growing since I walked out of that wedding, felt something else. Felt like maybe silence wasn't strength after all. Maybe standing up was. Monday came. Hal filed the petition. By Tuesday afternoon, Linda had been served. My phone rang 20 times that day. I didn't answer. Linda left voicemails. First angry, "How dare you?" Then pleading, "Frank, let's talk about this." And then threatening, "My lawyer says you'll regret this." I deleted them all. Wednesday, Linda's lawyer called. Man named Pritchard. Slick voice. "Mr. Sullivan, I represent your wife in this unfortunate matter. I think we can resolve this amicably if you'll just—" "Talk to my lawyer," I said, and hung up. Margaret was impressed. "Look at you. Boundaries." "Learned from the best," I said. Thursday, we got notice. Hearing scheduled for Friday, December 28th. Judge Patricia Chen presiding. "That's Christmas weekend," Margaret said. "Court takes elder fraud seriously," Hal explained on the phone. "Judge Chen must have looked at the evidence and decided it couldn't wait." Friday the 28th. That gave us 4 days to prepare. Hal came over Thursday evening, walked us through what would happen. "Ray, you'll testify about what you saw. Margaret, we'll try to get your testimony in about the emails, but be prepared for objections. Frank, you'll be last. Keep it simple. Yes or no, answers when possible. Don't let Pritchard rattle you." "What's he going to ask?" "He'll try to paint you as angry about the affair, try to make it seem like this is revenge, not fraud. He'll ask about your marriage, about arguments, about whether you have memory problems." "I don't." "I know, but stay calm when he implies it. Getting angry plays into his hands." That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept running through scenarios. What if we lost? What if the judge believed Linda? What if I really was incompetent and just didn't know it? Margaret heard me pacing, came to the door in her pajamas. "Pop, you okay?" "Just thinking." "Come on, kitchen. I'll make cocoa like you used to when I had bad dreams." We sat at Ray's table. She made hot chocolate from a packet, added marshmallows, handed me a mug. "I'm scared," I admitted. "Me too." "What if we lose?" "Then we appeal. We keep fighting. But Pop, we're not going to lose. The evidence is solid. You didn't sign those papers. She committed fraud. The truth is on our side." "The truth doesn't always win." "No," Margaret agreed. "But it's got a better shot than lies do." We drank our cocoa. The house was quiet. Ray was asleep upstairs. "I'm sorry," I said, "for the 20 years, for being stubborn about Jimmy, for pushing you away." "You didn't push. I left. I was stubborn too." She smiled a little. "Wonder where I got that from." "Your mother, probably." That made her laugh, then stop laughing. She wasn't always like this, was she? I thought about it, about the young woman I'd married, about the first years. No, she wasn't. Or maybe she was, and I just didn't see it. 43 years is a long time. People change, or maybe they just become more of what they always were. "Do you still love her?" Honest question. Deserved an honest answer. "I don't know," I said. "I love who she was, or who I thought she was. This person who'd humiliate me in public and plot to steal my house? I don't know her." Margaret nodded. We finished our cocoa in silence. December 28th came with a blizzard. I woke at 5 a.m. to wind howling and snow piling against Ray's windows, turned on the radio, weather advisory, roads dangerous, visibility near zero. "We're still going," Margaret said over breakfast. "Roads are bad. I've driven in worse." We left at 7. Margaret drove her SUV, better in snow than my truck. Ray sat in back, quiet. I sat in front, watching the wipers struggle to keep up. The courthouse was 30 minutes away in good weather. Took us 90 minutes that morning. Slipping, sliding, crawling through whiteout conditions. We pulled into the courthouse parking lot at 9:30. Hearing was at 10. Linda's car was already there. A Mercedes I didn't recognize. Kent's, probably. My stomach clenched. We walked through the snow to the courthouse doors. Inside, the building was overheated. Fluorescent lights buzzed. People spoke in low voices. Other hearings, other crises. Hal was waiting in the hallway. "Ready?" "As I'll ever be." "Frank." He gripped my shoulder. This is your house. You built it. Remember that. We walked toward the courtroom. That's when I saw her. Linda stood at the end of the hall with Kent and a man in an expensive suit. Pritchard, probably. She looked elegant, composed, confident. She saw me. Our eyes met across the hallway. For just a second, her confidence flickered. Then she lifted her chin and looked away. Kent whispered something to her. She nodded. They looked like they'd already won. Margaret took my arm. Don't let them psych you out. I'm fine. You're shaking. I was. I steadied myself, straightened my back. It complained, but I stood tall anyway. The courtroom doors opened. All parties in Sullivan versus Sullivan, a bailiff called. This was it. We walked in. Judge Patricia Chen was a small woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes. She took the bench, arranged papers, looked at both sides. This is an emergency petition regarding property fraud and elder financial abuse, she said. Mr. Brennan, you're representing the petitioner. Hal stood. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Pritchard for the respondent. Linda's lawyer stood, tall, silver-haired, expensive suit. Yes, Your Honor. Let's proceed. Mr. Brennan, your case. Hal stood, spoke clearly. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of fraud. Mrs. Linda Sullivan, with the assistance of Kent Sawyer, a known real estate con artist, has systematically stolen from her husband of 43 years. She forged his signature on refinancing documents, transferred property solely into her name without his knowledge, and emptied joint bank accounts. We have documentary evidence, eyewitness testimony, and electronic communications proving premeditation. Pritchard stood. Your Honor, this is a vindictive husband lashing out after discovering his wife's affair. These are not criminal matters. These are civil disputes between spouses that should be handled in divorce court, not emergency proceedings. The property transfer was fraudulent, Hal countered. The signatures are forged. That makes it criminal. Judge Chen held up a hand. I'll hear the evidence. Mr. Brennan, call your first witness. The petitioner calls Raymond Hutchins. Ray took the stand, swore the oath, sat down. Hal walked him through it. When he'd started watching the house, what he'd seen, the photos he'd taken. And can you identify the man in these photographs with Mrs. Sullivan? That's Kent Sawyer. And what were they doing? Meeting at the bank, at the house, at hotels, and on December 15th, I observed Mr. Sawyer measuring Mr. Sullivan's workshop with surveying equipment. Hal showed the photos to the judge. She studied them. Pritchard cross-examined. Mr. Hutchins, isn't it true you're Mr. Sullivan's neighbor and close friend? Yes. So you have a vested interest in helping him? I have an interest in stopping what I saw happen to me from happening to him. You lost your farm in 2008, correct? Through foreclosure? Through fraud, Ray said evenly. Similar fraud. Pritchard moved on. He couldn't shake Ray. Vietnam vets don't shake easy. Next, Hal called Margaret. She testified about the emails. Pritchard objected immediately. Illegally obtained, Your Honor. Judge Chen considered. I'll allow the testimony regarding their existence and general content, but not specific details. Proceed carefully, Mr. Brennan. Hal worked with what he had. Margaret testified that she'd seen electronic communications between Linda and Kent discussing property transfers, timelines, and financial planning for a new life together. Did these communications reference your father? Yes. They discussed strategies for establishing his incompetence. Pritchard tried to discredit her. You've been estranged from your parents for 20 years, correct? From my father, not my mother. My mother and I spoke regularly. So you have a closer relationship with your mother than your father? I did, until I realized what she was doing to him. Finally, Hal called me. I took the stand, swore the oath. My hand shook on the Bible, but my voice was steady. Mr. Sullivan, Hal said, did you sign the refinancing documents for your home dated April 12th of this year? No. Did you authorize the transfer of the property deed to your wife's sole ownership? No. Did you give permission for the withdrawal of $47,000 from your joint bank account? No. Hal showed me the documents. Is this your signature? I looked. It was close, but not quite right. The loops were wrong. No, that's not my signature. How can you be sure? I'm a carpenter. I've signed my name on contracts, permits, invoices for 50 years. I know my own signature. Pritchard's cross-examination was sharp. Mr. Sullivan, you're 71 years old, correct? Yes. Do you have any memory issues? And no. Does your hand shake? When it's cold? Arthritis. Do you take any medications that might affect your cognition? Blood pressure medication. Nothing that affects my mind. Your wife testified in her affidavit that you've become forgetful, that you repeat yourself, that you've gotten lost driving routes you've known for years. That's not true. Are you calling your wife a liar? I looked at him, then at Linda. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Yes, I said. I am, Pritchard pressed, asked about our marriage, about arguments, about whether I was angry about the affair. Of course I'm angry, I said. But I'm not here because she cheated. I'm here because she stole from me. Judge Chen called for a recess. We stood in the hallway. Hal looked satisfied. You did good. He made me sound old, feeble. You sounded honest. That's what matters. When we reconvened, Hal dropped the bomb. Your Honor, I'd like to introduce additional evidence. Kent Sawyer has 4 pending lawsuits in 3 counties involving nearly identical schemes targeting elderly property owners. I have court documents showing a pattern of fraud. He handed the papers to the bailiff. The judge reviewed them. Her expression hardened. Mr. Pritchard, did your client know about Mr. Sawyer's history? Pritchard hesitated. I'm not sure that's relevant. It's very relevant. If Mrs. Sullivan knowingly partnered with a con artist— Your Honor, my client is also a victim. Judge Chin held up her hand, looked at more documents, her lips pressed into a thin line. Finally, she looked up. I've seen enough, she said. The evidence is clear. The signatures on the refinancing documents don't match exemplars. The transfers were unauthorized, and Mr. Sawyer's history suggests a pattern of elder exploitation. She turned to Linda. Mrs. Sullivan, did you forge your husband's signature on these documents? Linda's lawyer whispered to her. She leaned into the microphone. No, Your Honor. Frank must have signed them and forgotten. Mrs. Sullivan, I built a career recognizing lies. Don't insult my intelligence. The judge's voice could have cut glass. Mr. Sullivan, did you build a crib for my granddaughter in 2003? White oak with carved lambs? I blinked. Yes, ma'am. That crib is still in perfect condition. My daughter uses it for her second child now. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. She looked at Linda. A man who can create work of that precision and quality is not incompetent. He's skilled, careful, and detail-oriented. She banged her gavel. I rule in favor of the petitioner. The property deed transfer is voided. Joint ownership is restored. Mrs. Sullivan, you have 72 hours to vacate the premises. The bank accounts will be unfrozen and restored to joint access. I'm also referring this case to the prosecutor's office for investigation of fraud charges. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel banged again. Linda's face crumbled. Kent was already standing, heading for the exit. I sat there, numb, stunned. We'd won. The courthouse hallway was chaos. Hal shook my hand. Margaret hugged me. Ray clapped my shoulder. I felt like I was underwater. Sounds were muffled. Everything moved slow. Pop, you okay? I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. A woman approached, middle-aged, red coat. Mr. Sullivan? I turned. I'm Diane Sawyer, Kent's wife. She paused. Well, soon-to-be ex-wife. I heard about your case. It gave me the courage to file my own. Her eyes were wet. Thank you for fighting back, for showing me it's possible. She shook my hand and walked away. We left the courthouse. The snow had stopped. Pale sun broke through clouds. What now? I asked. Now we go home, Margaret said. Your home. We drove to the house, my house. Linda's Mercedes was in the driveway, but she wasn't there. Probably with her lawyer, figuring out next steps. Margaret unlocked the door with my key. We walked in. It looked the same, but different, like a place I used to know. I'll start packing her things, Margaret said. Not yet. Judge gave her 72 hours. Let her do it. You're being too kind. I'm being fair. There's a difference. I walked through the house, living room, kitchen, stood at the back window looking at the workshop. Still standing, snow on the roof, solid. Ray appeared next to me. You did it. We did it. What are you going to build first? I thought about it. Tyler's wife is pregnant. Due in spring. They'll need a crib. Ray smiled. White oak with carved lambs? Something like that. Over the next 3 days, Linda moved out. She hired movers, didn't speak to me. I stayed at Ray's, gave her space. Margaret supervised, made sure she only took what was hers. On New Year's Eve morning, Margaret called. She's gone. House is yours. I drove over, walked through rooms that felt too big, too empty, but they were mine. I went to the workshop, unlocked it, hit the lights. Everything was where I'd left it. Tools on pegboards, workbench clear. The rocking chair I'd started for Tyler's baby, still there, half finished. I ran my hand along the wood, smooth, good grain. Behind me, footsteps. Tyler stood in the doorway, in his hands the head table from the VFW hall. Thought you might want this, he said. I grabbed it before they could sell it. Amber and I were keeping it. For our house. For our kids to eat at. My throat tightened. Tyler. I'm sorry, Gramps. About Grandma. About all of it. Not your fault, son. Still, I'm sorry. He set the table down, hugged me, hard. When he left, I stood alone in the workshop. New Year's Eve afternoon. Almost dark. I turned on the space heater, put the radio on, old country station, Merle Haggard, singing about simpler times. Found my father's level in the toolbox, the one he'd given me in 1978. Brass and walnut, worn smooth from years of use, I hung it on the wall, in a place of honor. Then I sat down at the workbench, picked up the rocking chair pieces, started sanding. The door opened. Margaret with 2 mugs of coffee, she handed me one, sat on the stool in the corner. Ray's coming over for dinner. I'm making pot roast. Sounds good. We sat in comfortable silence. I worked. She watched. Pop? Yeah? I'm proud of you. I stopped sanding, looked at her. I'm proud of you too. You saved me, you know. You saved yourself. I just drove the getaway car. That made me smile. Ray showed up at 6 with butter cookies and a bottle of something that wasn't quite legal. We ate dinner, told stories, laughed. At 11:30, Ray and Margaret went to the living room to watch the ball drop on TV. I stayed in the workshop, worked on the rocking chair, ran my hands over the wood, feeling the grain, checking the joints, 71 years old. Back ached, hands shook a little, but they were still my hands, still knew how to build. The radio played. Snow fell soft outside the window. Inside, the space heater glowed orange. I thought about the year ending, the new one starting, about silence and surrender, about standing up, about being visible again. I picked up a piece of sandpaper, kept working. Outside, fireworks started. New Year's coming in. Inside, just me and the wood and the quiet satisfaction of building something good, something that would last. Midnight came and went. Margaret and Ray went home around 12:30, told me to get some rest. I stayed in the workshop, finished the rocking chair just before 2 in the morning, ran my hand along the arms, smooth, balanced, true. Tyler's baby would rock in this someday, would grow up hearing stories about the grandfather who built it. I made coffee, black, stood at the workshop window, looking out at my backyard. Snow had stopped, stars were out, the kind of clear, cold night that makes you feel small, insignificant all at once. I thought about Linda, about 43 years, about how love can die so quiet you don't even hear it go. I thought about silence, how I'd mistaken it for strength, how I'd let being quiet become being invisible. My daddy used to say I was soft. Maybe I was, but soft doesn't mean weak. Wood's got to have some give in it, or it cracks under pressure. There's a difference between bending and breaking. I'd almost broken. Almost let them erase me without a fight. But I didn't. I looked at my hands, scarred, spotted, shaky in the cold. But still capable, still mine, 71 years old, not dead yet, not invisible, not surrendered. I picked up my father's level, held it to the window light. The bubble sat right in the middle. Perfect. Foundation matters, I said to the empty workshop. To my father's ghost, maybe, to myself. I thought about Tyler's baby, about Margaret staying through January, about Ray next door, about Judge Chen remembering a crib I'd built 20 years ago, about the things we build that last longer than we do. I raised my coffee mug to the window, to the new year, to still being here. Outside, a single snowflake drifted past, then another, fresh snow beginning, clean slate. I turned back to the workbench. Tyler wanted a matching changing table to go with the crib. I had time, I had tools, I had hands that still remembered how. I got to work, some fights, you win just by showing up. But some things, the things that matter, you win by building them right the first time. And never, ever letting someone tell you they're not yours to keep.